Part 6, Chapter 11 of Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Translated by Nathan Haskell Doyle. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Marianne Spiegel. When Levin and Stepan Arkadyevitch reached the peasant's izba, where Levin always stopped when he was out hunting, Veslovsky was already there. He was laughing his merrily contagious laugh, sitting in the middle of the hut, and clinging with both hands to a bench from which a soldier, the brother of their host, was pulling him in his efforts to haul off his muddy boots. "I have only just gotten here. Ils ont été charmants. Imagine it, they gave me plenty to eat and drink. What bread! 'Twas marvellous. Délicieux! And such vodka I never tasted. And they utterly refused to take any payment. They kept saying, 'Drink it down,' or something like that." "Why should they take money? They regarded you as a guest. Do you suppose they had vodka to sell?" asked the soldier, who at last succeeded in pulling off the wet boot together with the mud-stained stocking. Notwithstanding the dirtiness of the izba, which the huntsmen and their dogs had tracked all over with mud, notwithstanding the smell of bog and gunpowder with which it was filled, and notwithstanding the absence of knives and forks, the three men drank their tea and ate their luncheon with appetites such as only hunting produces. After they had washed up and cleansed off the mud, they went to a hayloft where the coachman had prepared them beds. Although it was already dark, not one of the huntsmen felt any inclination to go to sleep. After they had indulged in various recollections and stories of shooting of dogs, and of previous expeditions, the conversation turned on a theme which interested them all. As it happened, Vasenka kept going into raptures over the fascination of this their camp, and the fragrance of the hay, and the charm of the broken telyaga (it seemed to him to be broken because the front part was taken off), and about the hospitality of the muzhiks, who had given him vodka to drink, and about the dogs which were lying each at his master's feet. Then Oblonsky gave an account of a charming meet which he had attended the summer before at the place of a man named Malthus, who was a well-known railway magnate. Stepan Arkadyevitch told what wonderful marshes and game preserves Malthus rented in the government of Tver, what equipages, dog-carts, and wagonettes were provided for the sportsmen, and how a great breakfast tent was carried to the marshes and pitched there. "I can't comprehend you," exclaimed Levin, raising himself on his hay. "I should think such people would be repulsive to you. I can understand that a breakfast with Lafitte might be very delightful, but isn't such luxury revolting to you? All these people, like all monopolists, acquire money in such a way that they gain the contempt of people. They scorn this contempt and then use their ill-gotten gains to buy off this contempt." "You're perfectly right," assented Veslovsky. "Perfectly. Of course Oblonsky does this out of Boheme. But others say Oblonsky goes there." "Not in the least." Levin perceived that Oblonsky smiled as he said this. "I simply consider that this man is no more dishonorable than any other of our rich merchants and nobles. They all have got their money by hard work and by their brains." "Yes, but what kind of hard work? Is it hard work to secure a concession and then farm it out?" "Of course it is hard work in this sense, that if it were not for such men, then we should have no railways." "But it is not hard work such as the muzhik or the student has." "Agreed, but it is work in this sense, that it is a form of activity which gives us results. Railways. But perhaps you argue that railways are useless." "No, but that is another question. I am willing to acknowledge that they are useful, but all gains that are disproportionate to the amount of labor expended are dishonorable." "But who is to determine the suitability?" "Property acquired by any dishonest way, by craft," said Levin, feeling that he could not very well make the distinction between honorable and dishonorable. "For example, the money made by stock gambling," he went on to say. "That is bad, and so are the gains made by fortunes acquired without labor, as it used to be with the speculators in monopolies. Only the form has been changed. Le roi est mort, vive le roi. We had only just done away with brandy farming when the railways and stock gambling came in. It is all money acquired without work." "Yes, that may be very wise and ingenious reasoning. Lie down, Crack," cried Stepan Arkadyevitch, addressing the dog, which was licking his fur and tossing up the hay. Oblonsky was evidently convinced of the correctness of his theory, and consequently argued calmly and dispassionately. But you do not make the distinctions clear between honest and dishonest work. Is it dishonest when I receive a higher salary than my head clerk, although he understands the business better than I do? I don't know. Well, I will tell you one thing. What you receive for your work on your estate is, let us say, 5,000 above your expenses. But this Muzik, our host, hard as he works, does not get more than 50 rubles. And this disparity is just as dishonorable as that I receive more than my head clerk, or that Malthus receives more than a railway engineer. On the contrary, it seems to me the hostility shown by society to these men arises from envy. No, that is unjust, said Veslovsky. It cannot be envy, and there is something unfair in this state of things. Excuse me, persisted Levin. You say it is unfair for me to receive 5,000, while the Muzik gets only 50. You're right. It is unfair. I feel it. But the distinction holds throughout. Why do we eat, drink, hunt, waste our time, while he is for ever and ever at work? Said Vasenka Veslovsky, who was evidently for the first time in his life thinking clearly on this question, and therefore was willing to be frank. Yes, you feel so, but you don't give your estate up to the Muzik, said Stepan Arkadyevitch, not sorry of a chance to tease Levin. Of late there had arisen between the two brothers-in-law a secretly hostile relationship. Since they had married sisters, a sort of rivalry existed between them as to which of them had the best way of living, and now this hostility expressed itself by the conversation taking a personal turn. I do not give it up because no one demands this of me, and even if I wanted to, I could not, replied Levin. Give it to this Muzik. He would not refuse it. But how could I give it to him? Should I come with him and sign the deed? I don't know, but if you are convinced that you have not the right. I am not altogether convinced. On the contrary, I feel that I have no right to give it away, that I have certain obligations both to the land and to my family. No, excuse me. If you consider that this inequality is unjust, then why don't you do so? I do it, only in a negative way, in the sense that I do not try to increase the discrepancy that exists between him and me. No, but that is a paradox, if you will allow me to say so. Yes, that is a sort of sophistical statement, averred Veslovsky. Ho, friend, he exclaimed, addressing their host, who had just then come into the loft, making the door creak on its hinges. Aren't you asleep yet? No, how can one sleep? But I supposed you gentlemen were asleep. Still, I heard talking. I wanted to get a hook. Will she bite? He added, carefully slipping along in his bare feet. But where do you sleep? We are on night duty. Oh, what a night! Exclaimed Veslovsky, catching a glimpse of the edge of the izba and the unharnessed wagons in the faint light of the west, through the now widely opened door. Just listen to those women's voices singing. It is not bad at all. Who is singing, friend? Said he, addressing the Muzik. Oh, those are the girls from the farm, singing together. Come, let us go out and take a walk. We shall never go to sleep. Come on, Oblonsky. What's the use? Said Oblonsky, stretching. It's more comfortable here. Well, then, I'll go alone, exclaimed Veslovsky, jumping up eagerly and putting on his shoes and stockings. Good-bye, das vidanya, gentlemen. If there's any fun, I will come and call you. You have given me a good hunting, and I won't forget you. He's a splendid young fellow, said Oblonsky, after Veslovsky had gone out and the Muzik had shut the door again. Yes, he is, replied Levin, still continuing to think of what they had been talking about. It seemed to him that he had clearly, to the best of his ability, uttered his thoughts and feelings, and yet these men, who were by no means stupid or insincere, agreed in declaring that he indulged in sophistries. This confused him. This is the way of it, my friend, said Oblonsky. One of two things must be. Either you must agree that the present order of society is all right, and then stand up for your rights, or confess that you enjoy unfair privileges, as I do, and get all the good out of them that you can. No, if this was unfair, you could not get any enjoyment out of these advantages. At least I could not. With me the main thing would be to feel that I was not to blame,